There is a specific quality of light that falls over Jerusalem in the hour before the afternoon heat lifts. It is neither gold nor white, but a color resting somewhere between them. Scribes and soldiers ignored it, and the merchants in the lower markets were too busy watching their scales to pay it any mind. But a 13-year-old girl named Beanie noticed it. She spent her time catching the subtle, overlooked details of the world, and soon she caught the attention of Jet, a prince who was intellectually starved. He had spent his childhood hungry for precise definitions that his tutors could never provide. Sitting together in an olive garden, they recognized a shared problem. Inherited language only approximates human feeling. The words passed down to them fit loosely, gesturing at emotions from a distance, but they failed to capture highly specific, newly discovered emotional realities. When a profound feeling lacks a specific vocabulary, the human mind struggles to hold on to it. Without the exact words to name the territory of an emotion, a person will eventually begin to doubt if that feeling is even real. To solve this, Jed and Binny built a private grammar. Over months in the garden, they forged new words for hyper-specific moments: the astonishment of the heart before it decides to be astonished, the exact ache of an unexpected joy ending, and the act of being seen by someone whose seeing actually changes you. Binny physically recorded this new lexicon to preserve their linguistic discoveries. She etched these words onto a small clay tablet and kept it hidden beneath a loose stone in the garden wall. Eventually, Binny arranged several of these coined words into a sequence, not to build an argument, but to map the exact unfolding of a feeling. Jed answered her verse with his own. By setting their private words to this rhythm, they unintentionally authored a flawless love song, but they immediately recognized an insurmountable obstacle. The song existed, yet the surrounding culture was entirely deafened by its own noise. The world outside their garden was relentlessly pursuing wealth, status, and the approval of other nations. Possessing the perfect language accomplishes nothing if the audience is actively distracted. The noise of worldly ambition was simply too loud for their quiet song to survive. Jed assumed the throne as King Solomon, beginning a reign that quickly eclipsed the legacy of his father, David. He transformed Jerusalem into a global center of gravitational importance. He gathered countless chariots and horses. He built fleets returning with gold, formed alliances with every major power, and produced thousands of celebrated proverbs. Nations sent delegations just to hear him. In the garden, Jed and Beanie realized that the world only listens to a voice that has already conquered what they worship. Jed accepted the crown as a tool for a specific experiment. He would climb to the very summit of worldly success to prove the view from the top was empty. This flowchart maps the logic of their experiment. You cannot expose the bankruptcy of worldly success by theorizing from the outside. Solomon had to follow the paths of wealth, power, and knowledge to their absolute terminal points to prove that the final destination is vapor. Solomon's legendary golden era served as a calculated setup. He constructed a massive, dazzling tower of achievement so that its eventual demolition would carry the weight of an expert's autopsy. In his middle years, Solomon pushed his experiment into extreme excess. He followed every avenue of pleasure and forbidden experimentation to its absolute limit, paying a severe personal toll to gather the proof he needed. He emerged from this dark season as the preacher. The degradation he walked through physically aged him, but it armed him with a brutal, unassailable honesty that his court had never heard before. He began a systematic, public deconstruction of everything he had built. He declared that human ambition, accumulated wealth, and rigorous wisdom were entirely hollow, a chasing after the wind. This geometric model illustrates the aftermath of his philosophical demolition. By dismantling his own achievements, he collapsed the towering hierarchy of societal ambitions tier by tier, leaving the populace with a flat baseline and nothing left to chase. The deliberate ruin of his own legacy was a triumph. By creating total cultural desolation, he finally produced the absolute silence required for the song to be heard. Decades later, an elderly and exhausted Solomon sat in the quiet isolation of his inner rooms.
There, he received a vision that recast the love he shared with Binny into a new cosmic light. This split-screen timeline breaks down the concept of temporal asymmetry. The top half shows Solomon and Binny's mutual romance, two people responding to each other simultaneously. But the bottom half reveals a divine bridegroom whose massive vector of love initiates first, unconditionally. The bride responds to this prior gift by transforming her history of forgiven failures into profound, hard-won wisdom. A crushing realization struck Solomon in that room. He was not the true bridegroom of their private song, and his entire life had been nothing but a typological rehearsal. The intensely specific mutual love he and Binny shared was merely a shadow. It was cast backward in time from a cosmic future reality that they would not live to see. Solomon left his quarters to find Binny. She was now an old woman, sitting exactly as she had in her youth, quietly guarding the original clay tablet in a small enclosed garden. Sitting together, they acknowledged the sheer cost of their choices. They had sustained immense personal damage to build a sprawling kingdom and then tear it all down to the studs. Yet they reached a peaceful acceptance. The private language they had suffered to create was never truly theirs to keep. It had always been authored for someone greater. The Song of Songs stands as a prophetic architectural blueprint, a house meticulously built for an owner who has not yet arrived. Two people intentionally ruined their lives to invent a new lexicon. They endured the fall of an empire to ensure that when the divine king finally appears, humanity will possess the exact words needed to recognize him.